Here's what I do. I take complex things and I make them easy to understand. And that's not a flex, I'm not bragging. It's just what I've spent my entire life doing. And honestly, it started because I work with kids. When you have to explain something to a 3-year-old and then a 7 to 11-year-old and then a teenager and then an adult or a parent all in the same day, you get really good at breaking things down to what actually matters most. So today I'm going to do just that with something that runs your entire life. Something you think about constantly, but have probably never actually examined. Beliefs. This is the second video in a series I'm calling The Framework. If you haven't seen the first one, don't worry. I'm going to give you everything you need right now in this one. But if you want the full picture, go back and watch it first. The framework is like a diagnostic system. It lets you pinpoint exactly where something is breaking down in your own life or in the life of your kid or your students or your athletes if you're a coach. It works like this: belief, identity, standards, discipline, behavior, and outcome. Now, belief creates your identity. Your identity sets your standards. Your standards are the operating system you live inside. Discipline is where you learn what works inside that system. You experiment, you test, you figure out what's actually true for you or what actually works for you. That process shapes your behavior. That's the things you actually do consistently without thinking. And your behavior produces an outcome. The outcome is just data. If it's not what you wanted, you trace the problem back up the chain and you can figure it out. Here's the part that most people miss though. The first four, belief, identity, standards, and discipline, that's where character gets built. If you get those right, behavior and performance just take care of themselves and then outcomes follow. But most parents, teachers, and coaches, they skip straight forward to the behavior. They try and fix what someone does without ever asking why they do it. That's why the fix never sticks. Behavior is just a visual expression of everything underneath or everything above it, and it will always starts with belief. Most people think that they know what a belief is, but they don't. Here's the definition of a belief. A belief is a statement that you hold is true. It's simple enough, but there's a word buried in the definition you got to look at more carefully. True. What does that actually mean? Is true a thought? Is it a feeling? Is it just whatever feels right? If you look up synonyms for the word true, the first one listed is accurate. Now we have another problem. What's accurate? So I'm going to rewrite the definition of belief in a way that actually helps you, makes it easier. A belief is a statement that you hold as free from error. Remember that, because I'm going to come back to that. Now, here's what's wild about beliefs. You have them whether you want them or not. There's no opting out. Beliefs sit at the very top of your mental hierarchy. They decide what you consider important. They decide what you pay attention to. They determine what you're willing to try, what you consider too risky, how hard you'll work, and how far you'll go. Everything you do, everything you see, everything you feel gets filtered through your beliefs first. And here's a question nobody asks. Have you ever actually taken a look at yours? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. A lot of the beliefs that run in your life now were installed in you without your permission. You didn't get to choose them. They came from somewhere else or somebody else. And once your brain marks something as free from error, it stops questioning it. It just runs, which means you might be operating on someone else's software and not even know it. Let me show you just how much the power beliefs actually have over you. Beliefs filter everything. They filter what you notice, what you're willing to try, what you consider dangerous, what you decide to avoid, how hard you're going to work, how much risk you take on, how far you believe you can actually go. If you pick a good belief, one that's genuinely beneficial to you, and everything downstream gets easier. Your identity gets clearer, your standards are higher, your discipline comes more naturally. If you pick a bad belief or let a bad one run unchecked, your whole life can quietly fall apart. It's not always dramatic. It's not all at once. It's just kind of a slow drift in the wrong direction. So the question that actually matters is this: Where do your beliefs come from? Beliefs don't just appear, they always come from somewhere. And when you actually break it down, there's only three places, as far as I can see. You have God, people, or yourself. That's it. Every belief you hold started in one of those three places. So let's look at them. Let's look at God first. If you believe in God, then you believe there's an original designer behind everything. And there's a book, it's called the Bible, that lays out that design, his character, the nature of humans, the intention behind how life is supposed to work. For a lot of people, that's a foundational source. Then we have people. This one is massive and most people underestimate it. It's your parents, your teachers, your coaches, your friends, but it can also be music, teachers, social media, culture, your professors, influencers. Any social voice is a human being telling you what to believe. And here's the thing, you absorb those messages constantly, often without even realizing it's happening. And then there's you. You interpret experiences. You think, you feel, you draw conclusions. You decide what things mean. You choose what information to accept, reject, or ignore. You are constantly generating beliefs inside your own head, whether you're aware of it or not. Every belief you have came from one of those three places. But before any belief can take hold, your brain has to answer one question. On what authority do I submit to this belief or accept this belief? Now, this is the part that changes everything. Beliefs get installed based on who or what you give the highest level of trust or authority to. And the problem is that most people have never consciously made that decision. The beliefs they carry weren't chosen, they were given, or they came from one experience that got generalized into a law and they just lived there, unquestioned. Then you wonder why your life feels like it's out of control. It's because you never got to decide what you actually believe. But here's what I want you to hear clearly. You do get to choose. It takes thought, it takes some work, it takes a level of awareness that most people never develop, but the power to choose is yours. So the question is, who actually deserves that authority? Do you trust God the most? Is He your highest source? Is studying original design actually a reliable lens? Do you trust people? Do you trust people the most? Have the people in your life actually earned the right to shape what you hold as true or accurate or free from error? Or do you trust yourself the most? You spend most of the time with yourself, but is your own mind your highest authority? Is what you think, feel, or experience the absolute top of the chain? Whoever or whatever you give authority to will determine what gets accepted as free from error. And that will determine the kind of life you live. Now, I am not a preacher. I am not a theologian. I don't have a degree in philosophy, but I've done the work. I've actually tested this. For me, the ultimate authority is God. Now, let me show you how I got there, because I didn't start there. I went through a list of things that seemed to be authorities, and I thought my way through it. Like the government, ultimate authority over my life. They look out for my best interest day to day? No. The government is made up of people. The church, and I don't mean the building, I mean the institution. Church leaders are just people struggling to figure it out just like the rest of us. And I've watched too many people put on a good showing on Sunday and then go right back to who they were on Monday. I'll give my authority to God. I just haven't seen enough consistency in the institution to just follow it blindly. What about culture? Absolutely not. Culture has shifted my entire life. It moves toward whatever is the most extreme thing. Then it expects you to conform. No, culture is made up of people. What about family? I love my family. I'll honor where I come from, but does my family know the best for me in every situation? No, they're people too. What about myself? Every time I've tried to run my own life completely on my own, I created problems and then spent the next 5 years trying to climb out of them. I'm a person. I make mistakes. What about my feelings? My emotions are they're not a reliable authority. They give me too much gray. They make me second guess everything. And the paradox is brutal. I can't hurt people's feelings, but I can't make everyone happy either. Feelings as a compass will leave you kind of paralyzed. You just sit there spinning around. So, what about my thoughts? Now, this one's closer. But the other day, a guy was driving next to me looking at his phone and he started drifting over into my lane. And my first thought was to ram his little Mercedes with my truck. So, no, I don't fully trust my thoughts as the ultimate authority. What I do trust is the awareness of my thoughts. That I can work with. What about experiences? The problem is they generate wild generalizations based on incomplete information. I can use experiences, but I have to think carefully about what meaning I assign to them, or I'll lock in a belief that doesn't serve me very well. So I can use my thoughts and my experiences to relate things to my ultimate authority, but they can't be my ultimate authority. For me, that's God. You'll decide for yourself, but you have to decide, because if you never consciously choose, something else is going to choose for you. And think about this. If I start with the assumption that existence was created, then there must be a creator. And if there's a creator, there must be a design. And if there's a design, I want to study that design. I want to know how everything is supposed to work. Because if I understand the design, I can structure my life around it. And when I structure my life around the original design, character gets easier to understand because the creator designed it. That would mean that parenting gets easier because I have a bigger mission than just the survival of my kids. And my purpose becomes automatic. Because if I study the original design and I study the character of the creator, then I'll know what I'm aiming at. And everything else, like my career, possessions, success, all of that becomes secondary. And I can protect multiple parts of my life at once. My mental health, my spiritual health, my thoughts, my emotions. And I surround myself with people who are also trying to do the same thing. For me, that just makes the most sense. So here's where it all gets practical. Because even once you understand where beliefs come from, God, people, or yourself, you still need to know how they actually get inside of you. What's the mechanism? Beliefs get installed through 4 channels, as far as I can tell: words, thoughts, feelings, and actions. Let's look at words. Words are things you say, things other people say, things you read, hear in music, absorb from TV or social media. The volume of words that hits you every single day is staggering. Just from advertising alone, your beliefs are being shaped constantly. I mean, think about bleach. You don't even call it bleach. You call it Clorox. Clorox is just a brand. It's bleach. There's only about 10 chemical plants in the whole USA that actually make bleach. A different label, same product, but you believe one is better. Words did that. What about thoughts? Thoughts make the conclusions you draw from events, the meaning you attach to what happens to you, not the event itself, the interpretation. Now, feelings. Feelings are the emotional charge attached to a moment, especially the ones that catch you off guard. And finally, there's actions. Things you do, things done to you. Every action carries a message, and your brain is always trying to decode it. And the installation happens fast, often before you're even aware that it's occurring. I will walk you through what this actually looks like with some real life examples. I'll use myself first. I tried gymnastics when I was young. I loved it, right up until the moment that the coach laughed at me while I was on the floor. I felt embarrassed, I was humiliated, and in that moment I made a decision. Gymnastics is not for me. So I quit, never went back. Found out later they weren't even laughing at me. Something I did was genuinely cute and it caught them off guard, but I never knew that. The feeling I got in the moment formed a belief, and that belief became law. Here's the thing. I was good at gymnastics. One moment tied to one feeling led to one belief, so I quit. Now, picture a kid walking onto a basketball court for the first time. He's never played basketball. There are other kids on the court, kids who played for a while. You know, they're pretty good. So he picks up the ball and he shoots. He misses. Nobody says anything. Nobody laughs. They barely even look at him. They don't care. But in his head, a belief forms. I suck at basketball. and then he never tries again. What he doesn't know is that basketball isn't just shooting. There's defense, hustle, strategy, passing, reading the floor, teamwork. There are kids who can't shoot a free throw to save their life, who go on to have long careers because of everything else that they bring to the table. But he'll never find out because one missed shot, one silent moment formed a belief that closed that door forever. Now my favorite, I'm going to give you a karate example. A kid walks into a karate school. He doesn't know anyone. He's nervous. He's never done karate before. The instructor puts him on the floor, introduces him to the class, has everyone tell him their name. He gets a belt. He goes to the class. He earns a stripe. Then the instructor says, "You did so well today. I have a real wooden board here, and I want to see how strong you are. Would you like to try to break it? Now, if you can break it, you can take it home with you, and I'll sign it." The kid says yes, and he hits the board, and it snaps. His eyes go wide, a smile takes over his whole face, and in his mind, some beliefs get installed. I'm strong. I don't quit. This is who I am. I'm a karate person now. And every obstacle he faces in that dojo from that day forward, he walks straight toward it because he already decided who he is that first day. Same mechanism, different outcome. That's the power of how beliefs get installed. Some are intentional, like a parent who reads the Bible stories to their kid every night, building a foundation that tells the kid, you are never alone, God is good, and there is a source bigger than any problem you'll face. Most are accidental. A moment happens, a conclusion forms, a belief locks in, and then it just runs unquestioned forever. So here's a warning. What happens when you hold a belief and never look at it again? What if you actually weren't bad at basketball? What if you had the potential to be great at gymnastics? You'll never know because the belief closed the door before you could even find out. Beliefs hold immense power over you. And the ones that never get examined are the most dangerous. Not because they're dramatic, but because they're invisible. They control everything. They're just running, quietly shaping what you try, what you avoid, who you think you are. You probably have beliefs right now, formed in a single moment, maybe when you were a child, that are holding you back, keeping you stuck, making your life feel smaller than it should be. And here's what makes it worse. One flawed belief doesn't just affect one area. It bleeds. It bleeds into your relationships, your work ethic, your finances, your parenting, your ability to take a risk when it actually matters. But sometimes it's simpler than you think to fix. Go back to the basketball story. The kid's belief was, I suck at basketball. Now we're going to add just one word to it. I suck at basketball today. That's it. One word, today. It takes away the finality of it. It turns a permanent verdict into a temporary condition. It leaves the door open. It says, I'm not here, I'm not there yet, but there's still a chance. One word changes everything downstream. Now here's something I want you to actually do. Get out a piece of paper and write down everything you believe. Don't edit yourself. Don't second guess the order. Don't worry about repeats. Just write. Give yourself categories if it helps, like what you believe about people, family, money, work, success, religion, relationships. Just let it all come out. Then go back and look at it. Look for the contradictions, beliefs that cancel each other out. Look for the ones that are actually serving you and the ones that aren't. And then for the ones that aren't serving you, trace them back to their beginnings. When did that belief form? What happened? What did you decide that it meant? Now, I did this exercise when I was like 20. I expected a long list, and what I got was way shorter than what I thought, and I had a lot of repetition, which told me I was trying to have beliefs that I didn't actually have, or probably so my list would look longer. What I did walk away with was clarity. I rewrote some of them. I changed the meaning I had assigned to certain events or moments in my life, and I eliminated others entirely. It's one of the most important things you can do for yourself, because if the belief at the top of your chain is wrong, everything downstream is wrong. So let's bring it back. Belief is the first link, the most important link. Get the belief right, make it intentional, make it examined, make it actually yours, and the next step becomes clearer because belief creates identity. That's the next step. When you know what you hold as true, you can start to define who you actually are, not who you were told to be, not who one moment decided you were, but who you choose to be. Identity sets your standards. That's the operating system that you live inside. High standards or low standards. Challenging or comfortable. That's your call. But your standards will only be as solid as the identity that was created from beliefs. Standards get tested through discipline. That's the work. It's the experiments, the failures that teach you what works and what doesn't for you. Discipline isn't about punishment. It's the lab where you figure out your system. And when belief, identity, standards, and discipline all line up, your behavior changes. Behavior is the natural expression of everything above it in the chain. And then you get an outcome. If the outcome isn't what you wanted, you don't panic. You trace it back to where the problem was in the chain. 9 times out of 10, if you trace it all the way up the chain, you're going to find out it's a belief that needs to be re-examined. It usually starts there. It almost always starts there. But there's one place where belief might matter more than anywhere else: parenting. Because parents are belief installers, whether you realize it or not. Every word, every reaction, every standard is quietly teaching your child what is true or what is free from error. And once a belief gets installed, it just runs. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how beliefs shape your child's behavior, and more importantly, how parents accidentally install the exact beliefs that create the behavior they're trying to stop. And that's coming Friday. Until then, here's the question I want you to sit with. What beliefs are currently running your life? And did you actually choose it? Or did it choose you? Or was it chosen for you? I will see you in the next one.